Okay. Call to order the meeting of the Water and Sewer Commission for May 21st, 2020. It is now 5:33 p.m. Roll call. I'm Joe Bolero Jr. I'm a commissioner with the Water and Sewer Department. Who's next?
Robert Levita is present.
Judge Allen, President.
Joe Labeo, Public Works, Wilmington.
Diane Forrest, Recording Secretary for the Water and Sewer Commission.
You're very cloudy, Diane. But
I know. I'm waiting for Joey to get home.
It's almost like fog over her or something.
All right, then that being done, Jill Mann is also with us. I am required to read the following because this is a Zoom meeting due to the COVID crisis. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, the meeting of the Water and Sewer Commission will be conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access proceedings in real time via technological means. Members of the public who wish to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so via telephone by dialing area code 312-626-6799 and entering meeting ID 8248244999, then pressing, I don't know what you call that. It's the pound, and press pound again at the next voiced prompt. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by following the steps previously noted, then press star 9 on the telephone keypad. This will notify the meeting host that the caller wishes to speak. All callers using this feature will be placed in queue in the order they entered the prompt. In the event that despite our best efforts, we are not able to provide real-time access, we will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as we are able. The announcement for the May 21, 2020 Water and Sewer Commission meeting. We'll now move on to the agenda. The first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. 4 sets of minutes that we need to approve: September, November, December, and February. I would take up September 19th, 2019 first. Present were Chairman Joseph Bolero, Commissioner George Allen, Commissioner Robert Levita, and Manager Joseph Labeo, and Recording Secretary Diane Forrest. You take a moment to review the minutes and tell me if there are any questions, comments, modifications, or edits, please.
It's been so long, it's good to review them.
For us old guys, you mean?
Actually, I reviewed them earlier. I'd make everyone was at that meeting, so I'd make a recommendation that we accept the meeting minutes of September 19, 2019 as presented.
I second that.
It's unanimous. Motion is passed. Second set of minutes we need to review are November 21st, 2019. If you would take a moment to review those and tell me if there are any modifications, edits, questions, like.
Robert, what do you think?
I make a motion to accept.
I'll second that.
It's unanimous. Motion passes. Third set of minutes to be reviewed, December 19th, 2019. Take a moment to look at these and tell me if there are any suggested modification, edits, questions, or concerns.
This one was me and you, Joe, right?
President Joseph Bolero, Commissioner George Allen, Utility Business Manager Joseph LeBeau.
Oh, I wasn't there.
That's correct. So it's
Sorry
George
about
and
that. I take that,
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of December 19, 2019 as presented.
I second the motion. The motion is voted and passed.
Guys, I think we're supposed to do a roll vote so people know who's voting.
Joseph Bolero and George Allen. And I'm on to the fourth set of meeting notes. February 20th, 2020. Chairman Joseph Bolero, Commissioner Bob Levita, Utility Manager Joseph LeBeau, and Recording Secretary Diane Forrest. If you take a minute to review the minutes and tell me if there are any questions, concerns, modifications, or edits.
I make a motion to accept. Actually, there was one question I have where it says approval of minutes, January 16th. It says, it mentions Chairman Barretta. It should be Bolero, I assume.
I'm sorry, where is it?
That's correct, Bob. Looks like that's a misspelling there. We'll take care of that.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
Other than that, it looks fine to me. I make a motion to accept as changed.
With the modifications of seconded to second by Chairman to Chairman Barretta Bolero. With those modifications, I second the motion, and it is carried.
Wow, that's a blast from the past. I don't know how that happened.
It wasn't you, Diane. You're too good at this.
No,
Hey, I wasn't at that meeting, obviously, but just a quick comment. I think you guys broke a time record on that one. Maybe because I wasn't.
It had nothing to do with you not being there, George.
Yeah, everything moves faster. All right.
All right, second item on the agenda, billing adjustments and corrections, and we have 2-page billing adjustments and corrections that need to be reviewed. Any questions, concerns? Lucci Realty, $41.34. Lucci Realty, $211.93. Kenneth Kiddick, $1.50. Those are the adjustments and corrections.
Right, and you'll see that they've already been signed by the treasurer collector's office.
Yeah.
Any questions, concerns, motion on these?
Nope.
Nope.
Sorry?
None for me.
None for me.
All right, can I have a motion?
I make a motion to accept the billings and corrections as submitted.
Second.
Second. It's unanimous by all three commissioners. Third item on the agenda is 79 Nickel Street sewer connection. You'll see a package from Man and Man PC, a 2-page, it appears. Unless I'm missing a page.
There's a third page. No, there's a third page. But the third page.
Oh, yep, I've got it. Yep, okay. Have you had a chance to review this?
Yep, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, can you give us a skinny on this?
Sure, this one goes back a couple of years now. Ms. Mann has been to the commission several times. They're looking to develop 5 properties at 79 Nickel Street. This property is a non-sewer district property. Back at the May 2018 meeting, you guys actually voted to allow them 5 sewer connections for the presentation that was proposed that night. This man and her group have gone back and forth a couple of different times with the planning board, and she's been in to see us at DPW and also the Board of Health, from what I understand. And she's here tonight to revisit that property. And I guess with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Mann so she can describe what it is that she's looking for.
Sure. Good evening, Jill Mann here on behalf of Golden Realty, the owner of 79 Nickel Street. So the reason we're here is to, for two purposes. One is to confirm the out of district allotment and what that actually meant. And then the other is to discuss the method by which the particular proponent would connect to the sewer system. So first, I just would like to talk about the allotment. When I had come in, we had specifically asked, and the commission had approved, giving an allotment for the conservation subdivision. It was very clear, and we continue to want to do this, to develop this particular property, not as a conventional 5-lot subdivision, but a condominium, if you will, cluster subdivision, which means all the homes come close to Nickel Street, all the back is preserved as open space. And if you remember, one of the tremendous benefits of that was the preservation of open space and the foregoing of any crossing of a wetland, and the ability to give a tremendous strip on the side of the property for the canal. So what we need to do in order to get a conservation subdivision is you have to go to the planning board and you have to present to them a conventional plan, and it's called a yield plan or a proof plan. You need to demonstrate to them that you actually can get the number of lots / homes you are going to put into the conservation subdivision. The point
Well,
of
I have to
Oh, yeah.
stop for a minute. I apologize, but
No, it's fine.
I think we lost Bob.
Oh, you know what? I did see no picture anymore.
Well, all I have is Wilmington Zoom and Wilmington Community Television, so
Let's see.
we got to get Bob back if we're going to continue.
Yeah, he's not there at all. I can see where he fell off when I look at participants.
He just texted me and said he lost his connection. And he's typing again.
Okay,
Okay, once he
I'll wait.
tries to get back in, I'll allow him in, hopefully as soon as possible.
I know he was in a WebEx meeting this morning and he had an issue with connection. So he was a little concerned about it, but
You can call in if it gets bad. You can do a telephone.
okay. He's typing right now. So I'll see what he comes back with and I'll let him know that. He's working on getting back in. He said it'll take him a couple of minutes, but he's working on it.
Understood.
I'm just rereading your letter, Jill.
Oh, most certainly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. You guys will be able to hit the road early. I did tell him that he could call in.
Yeah, that information
So
is
do
on
you,
it's on the same email that he used to log in. There's a phone number there. I can resend it if needed.
okay,
Actually, the phone number is in what Joe read it early on too. Got the number 312-626-6799.
Yes.
One for the public to call in on. Is that the same one he's going to call in on? Or is it a separate one?
Yeah, no, it's the same number.
Same number. Yeah. So it's right on the.
okay, I'll send that to him.
Yeah, it's right on the top of the agenda there, the number. And the ID number.
Yep, I see it. And he would need the ID number also.
Right. Yeah, if he's got his agenda right in front of him, have it all there.
Russ? Yeah. There's baked potatoes too. Oh, here's Papa.
Ah, there we go.
Can you hear us, Bob?
I mute him. Hold on. Hi, Bob. Can you hear us?
Yep.
Hey, there
Okay, we're back.
Welcome back, Papa. Jill, I'm sorry to have to interrupt you, and I do not
No
know
worries at
if
all.
Bob heard of your presentation, so if perhaps you could summarize what you've already spoken to and then continue, it would be wonderful.
I'm an attorney. We love to talk. So basically, we're here for two issues. One is to discuss the out of district allotment and what that means and to get a confirmation. And the other one is to discuss the method of connection for this particular sewer connection. So I'm going to start with the reason we're looking for confirmation regarding the allotment. So as Mr. Labeo said, in May of 2018, this board did provide a 5 allotment award for an out of district connection for this particular subdivision. That was based on my presentation relative to my client desiring to develop this as a conservation subdivision. So the benefits of that conservation subdivision were multiple. We were able to avoid a crossing. We were able to give land so that it could be used for the Middlesex Canal. We were able to bring all the lots in cluster to bring them forward so there'd be a large amount of open space preserved. Doing a conventional system is the counter opposite of all that, although it is by right. So when we had asked, we clearly only contemplated doing a conservation subdivision and had no desire to do the conventional. So we had asked for the allotment for the conservation subdivision. But in order to prove out a conservation subdivision, so we're looking for 5 condominiums because they will be all on one lot brought forward. You need to deliver to the planning board something called a yield plan or a proof plan. What that plan is simply the conventional plan. You demonstrate to them in a concept format that you can do the conventional plan and how many lots you really can get. So during that process, many towns have different processes relative to that. And Wilmington has a very high standard for what that yield plan should be. In many communities, it is literally put the lots on, show us you can get 5, and that's your yield plan, and you proceed with the CSP. But in Wilmington, they do require a little bit more. And in the design phase, we were designing the conventional just using Title V and using stormwater. But what we have discovered through the process is that the town really would like to see more credibility relative to the stormwater management system. And we would like the board to give us some this commission to give us guidance, because it would be far preferable for us if we're going to have to design this plan for a conventional system, if we actually would design that which we would really do. So for example, if the board chooses not to award us the right to do the CSD, and they can, it's a special permit, so they do not have to give it to us. And an abutter can make reasons why they don't want it. So the CSD is not by right and is subject to the discretion of the board. So given that, the high level of scrutiny relative to this plan, this conventional plan, my client would prefer to design that which we would actually use. So based on comments from the Board of Health, which would prefer us not to even use the one common system or raised systems for a conventional plan, she would prefer us to be able to still connect to the source system. So the purpose of coming back here is to see if this board would agree that even in a conventional system, that this land is better served using an out-of-district connection versus individual septic systems. The Board of Health has submitted to me through Shelley Newhouse her recommendation that in either event, this particular subdivision have a sewer connection and not either a common system or mounded systems, the high water table here. Again, I will stress that we have absolutely no desire to do the conventional, and that would be only if we were denied the right to do the conservation subdivision. So basically what I'm saying is going through all the work to do the conservation subdivision and designing all of the septic systems, all of the stormwater management systems for a system that if we were denied, we would then have to go back and redesign, is why we're here tonight, to get permission from this board to actually have the allotment used in either event, and knowing full well our preference is the CSD. And then also relative to the connection. So when we first came before you, there's that dog. We had actually received information after the meeting that the town owned property right in the back where we would have connected. So here's the Middlesex Canal, and going between Jack's Lane and my client's property is property owned by the town. And that property is not subject to what I call a perpetual conservation restriction, but it is town property. So the town has the authority to allow us to install the sewer line, but they would prefer not to. They like this land to be open and available. So they do not want us to connect through town property. So we did investigate other alternatives. And I had actually spoken to Mr. Woods and Mr. LeBeo about other connections, like going through the street and going down Shawsheen, but it would be over a mile, half mile, I apologize, half mile of water line out on the main street, which makes it prohibitive for a 5-lot subdivision. Or we did get permission and an easement from a neighbor behind to go through their property to connect to Jack's Lane. So we are looking for the board to give us guidance on whether or not it would actually approve the use of a water line, not the town's line, but the private main and extension of service line through this easement area.
Well, Jill, you said water line?
I apologize. I meant sewer. I am so sorry. No, that's my misspeaking. The sewer line would go through this private easement area. It'd be about a 10-foot easement, which again, I know is a small area, but the reason for the small area is to minimize the impact to the abutter, I mean, to the servient landowner. And also we intend on sleeving the line. So there would never be a need to even go on this person's property because we would sleeve it. So if there were ever a break or any issue, the way that it would be cured would be through the sleeve on either end of the property. In one end is the town's property open, it's the right of way, and the other end would be my client's property. So those are the two issues that we are seeking some input and hopefully action from this commission.
Joe, do you see any reason why we would not approve the 10-foot extension, private extension easement, intending to maintain, install a sleeve, and it's going to be recorded perpetually? Is there any reason why you feel it would be appropriate?
Typically the 20-foot is what we require. But I think taking into account that they will be installing a sleeve might change that somewhat. I'd be interested to hear what your feelings are on that.
So Jill, the length of this easement is going to be about 200 feet. Is that right?
It's about that through the property, going through and back to the other end.
About 200 foot. Okay. And so you have an agreement with this private property owner to get an easement 10 foot wide for about 200 feet?
Yeah, it's a little less than that on their property. It's just the length, but yes, we do have an agreement with this owner to do so.
So does he have an objection to a 20-foot wall?
He can't, we honestly couldn't even do it on his property with the location of his home, I believe. Isn't that correct, Joe? Because there has to be an offset from the home.
Could you do less than 20, but more than 10 somewhere in the middle?
I'm unsure, but in any event, the 10 foot, the reason why even for the 10 foot is I think that was the maximum we could get. And usually the 20 foot is to allow a vehicle on the property, and we are never going to put a vehicle on their property. That's one of the things that we have agreed to, is to be able to sleeve it so we wouldn't need to disturb their property. Once that line is in and installed, we never touch it again. I'm going to look at the picture.
So Jill, so the initial installation, though, you're going to use horizontal directional drilling. So
what? That's underground when you drill in, right?
Right, horizontal directional drilling. Is that what you're going to use? So you're not even, so the initial construction, I guess, is what you're saying, will also not have any equipment on his property. You use the horizontal directional drill and then pull the sewer line through.
In certain parts, we will use that technique, and in other parts, we won't. We're allowed on in a temporary basis if we have to disturb, but we will never go on to repair.
So is he going to give you like maybe a separate 10-foot temporary easement and then
Exactly.
and then a 10-foot permanent?
Yes, exactly. We'll go in, and as a matter of fact, it will be a nondescript temporary. So we'll be allowed on the property, period. So we have full access rights to the property during installation in case so when you do that horizontal, I understand now what it is. That's when you put that drill in and it goes underground like a mole, right? So in the event there's some issue, like say we hit something that we can't pass, we would be allowed to go on. I mean, because the intent is to minimally disturb, but we would have a full access right in the interim in a temporary status, and then afterwards 10-foot mandatory permanent. Okay,
I understand. All right. Another question I had. So for the first part there, in terms of seeking a reconfirmation of the sewer connection for the additional 5 homes, the reason you're asking for a reconfirmation of what we already did was because now you've put in here about a conventional development. Is that right?
It's correct, because I did not ever, right, when I came to you, I never said to you, we're going to use it in the design of the conventional. So I felt obligated to come back. I had to. I feel as though those minutes don't allow me to use it in my conventional design.
All right, so your conventional design though is basically septic system, right?
Yes, I had to. Yes.
So if you're using septic system, I mean, this doesn't even apply, right? Does it? I mean, are these allotments?
And that's what I don't want. Okay, so what ended up happening is when I did the design for the conventional, I still haven't even gotten a conventional system approved because the level of scrutiny that the planning board is using to determine whether or not the yield plan is an appropriate proof plan is they basically want not a fully designed stormwater management system, but a fairly high level stormwater management system. And when you have septic systems, then you have to design those, show those, and then you have to show the connections, you have to show the boxes. So it's a lot of moving parts for absolutely no reason because we would never design this system the way we're designing it. So Jim's point is look, if they deny me the OSD, if they deny me the right to put in the conservation subdivision, then I'm just going to use a conventional subdivision. And if this board is willing to allow him the out of district connections for that conventional, he would rather design it for using the sewer connection versus having to design all of the septic and all of the storm water that is attendant to that. Because you know, under Title V, you have to maintain distances between the storms and between the septic system pipes. You need to design them a separation both laterally and horizontally from basins. It's a lot of it's a much different process, and we'd have to design so the crossing for the wetland, everything needs to be designed at a higher level, and it's for nothing because we don't plan on using it. But again, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, Joe LeBeo. So Joe, maybe I'm confused, which probably won't be the first time.
No.
So the conventional system here, that's going to be septic systems. So that doesn't need an allotment, does it?
I spoke with the Board of Health earlier today and asked, were they in favor of sewer for both the conservation subdivision or the conventional? And they told me that they were, or the answer I got was that yes, they were still in favor of connecting to sewer, based upon a memo that Board of Health had provided back in the 2018 year. I have it somewhere here, and they had a list of reasons why. Primarily septic, I guess it was raised septic systems, and they cited environmental impacts.
Right. No, I can understand all that, but I mean, it's fine. I mean, but it's just I don't even know why a conventional development. Why would a conventional development be called an out of district sewer connection? Because it's not going to be connected to the sewer, right? It's going to be a septic system.
Oh, it would. No, okay, I apologize. No, if we had to be forced to design and execute the conventional, we would in fact want a sewer connection. Ms. Newhouse prefers it. She doesn't want us to use the septic systems because she doesn't like the idea of the mounding, all of the disruption to the land. She definitely doesn't want them. She'd prefer us to have an outer district connection if we're forced to use the conventional.
So you're going to run individual. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So if you went with conventional, then, so what are you saying? You're going to have each one of the houses run a line to the sewer, a long line to the sewer?
Can't you? I thought you run it to one and then you do like a force main or something. I'm going to say
Right.
the wrong words, but I thought you ran it to one and then you went out. Is that not true?
George,
Oh.
what they're talking about preliminarily would be like a pump station on-site, private pump station.
Oh, okay.
Force main lead pump station, and that
All right.
flows all the way to Jake's Lane.
All right. Okay, now I understand.
So they still need the 5 sewer connections, though.
Correct.
Apparently, yeah, okay. All right.
Any other questions, Bob, George, Joe?
Nope.
No,
Okay.
I don't have any others. So what so we need to re-vote on the confirmation of the sewer, out-of-district sewer connection. And and then we need to approve a private easement for a private sewer. Why do we have to approve a private easement for a private sewer?
It links into the public.
Does it work?
Joe, isn't that the case? You have to approve the private connection and then you have to approve it being only 10 feet?
Yeah, we've brought these before. So yes, you're right on both accounts. Number one, the 20-foot requirement width is what we're discussing. And in the past, we've also, or proponents have brought these to the commission, private easements entering the public utility right away. And usually the hardship has to be presented, and I believe that that's what you've done.
Okay.
So what we need is a motion to confirm the out-of-district sewer connection for up to 5 homes.
In the conventional, yep.
A motion to approve the sewer connection over the private easement and to allow the 10-foot width as opposed to the 20 that is. So
Well, so all right, so we're going to reconfirm the out-of-district sewer connection for up to 5 homes for
Right.
either a conservation subdivision or a conventional development. Is that correct, Jill?
Yes,
How would you-
yes, it is.
All right, so I would make a motion to that effect, that we approve the 5 homes as out-of-district sewer connections for either a conservation subdivision or a conventional development.
I would like to just throw in one more thing. Just a reminder that for this vote, I think it's wise we do the roll call vote. And also, as you know, Jill, we talked about it before, the sewer design will have to be reviewed internally by our departments and also with our consultant.
Yep.
And then any vote that's taken tonight by the Water and Sewer Commission has nothing to do with the stance of other boards or departments in town. We're just strictly talking about the connections.
Absolutely. It's independent jurisdictions by each board. I agree. And we recognize that this has to be reviewed by your private peer review engineer.
Okay, thank you.
a motion made by Commissioner George Allen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Robert Levita. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion. I put it to a vote. George Allen, do you vote
Yes.
aye or nay?
Aye.
Robert Levita, do you vote aye or nay?
Aye.
Commissioner Joseph Bolero votes aye. It's a unanimous approval of the motion.
Thank you.
The motion passes.
Now we need a second, we need a separate one for the sewer connection over private easement, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And again, all of this is going to be subject to town engineer approval, planning board approval, et cetera,
Absolutely.
what the easement is and, okay,
And also subject to the condition that we sleeve, just like I had said.
right. So Joe LeBeo, anything else we need in the motion other than, that we're going to approve the connection over private easement? Any other, qualifying statement we need to make?
No, I think it would probably just be noted that the sleeving of the pipe, we'll get that into the minutes.
Mhm.
We have a record of that.
You-
Besides that,
Should that be in the motion? The sleeving?
Can be.
I think it's wise to put it in.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I guess I'll make a motion to approve the sewer connection over a private easement, approximately 200 feet long, approximately 10 feet wide, and that the sewer be installed through the private easement in a sleeve.
Mhm.
A motion made by Commissioner George Allen. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second made by Commissioner Robert Levita. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion. The commissioner calls for a vote. George Allen, aye on A.
Aye.
Robert Levita, aye on A.
Aye.
Commissioner Joseph Bolero votes aye. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
Enjoy this beautiful upcoming weekend, and I appreciate your time, and I hope everybody is well.
Stay
Stay well,
safe.
stay safe.
It was nice to sort of see you again.
Diane, it's hysterical. It's like saran wrap. Take care, everyone.
We're gonna call it Cloudy Die from now on.
Cloudy die. I like that. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jill. Take care.
Bye.
Good night.
Okay, moving on. The fourth item on the agenda is the monthly report for February 2020, March 2020, and April 2020. I would refer to February 2020 first. See the dates on the bottom of the pages.
No, baked potatoes. And there's corn on the cob in the blue pan.
I love corn on the cob.
You're getting me hungry, Cloudy Die.
Trying to feed my people, multitasking.
Keep it going, right? So we've used about the same amount of water from MWRA within a few million gallons, I guess, up to date, Joe, huh?
That's correct, yep.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Any questions, concerns on the update for February 2020?
No.
Nope.
Do I hear a motion to accept the monthly report for February 2020?
I make a motion to accept the February 2020 monthly report.
Motion made by Commissioner Robert Levita. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by George Allen. Any further discussion? No further discussion. Move for a vote. Commissioner Robert Levita, your motion, vote aye or nay?
Aye.
George Allen, Commissioner George Allen.
Aye.
Commissioner Joseph Bolero votes aye. The monthly report for February 2020 is approved. Moving on to the March 2020 monthly report. You know, usually Cloudy Die has these all organized for me. I have to do it myself.
I emailed them organized.
Yeah.
I had to print them out. Ugh. All right.
Yeah, I see them all. Yeah. So we're running pretty consistently.
Yeah.
No, the big thing under the March one, there was a snowfall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Wow. Good eye. Yeah.
Yikes, huh? Amazing, absolutely amazing. I'll make a motion to accept the March 2020 monthly report.
A
Second.
motion made by Commissioner George Allen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Commissioner Robert Levita. Any further discussion? No further discussion. Move for a vote. You are the proponent, George Allen. Commissioner George Allen, vote aye or nay.
Aye.
Commissioner Robert Levita, vote aye or nay.
Aye.
Commissioner Joseph Bolero votes aye. The motion is carried. The minutes are approved. Moving on to the April 2020, I'm sorry, the monthly report is approved. Moving on to the April 2020 monthly report.
You look fabulous. You're welcome.
Once again, the snowfall numbers jump out at you, don't they? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last year versus this year, 46 inches versus 6.8. Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
But we're catching up on the rainfall.
Unbelievable. Yeah, well, rainfall is good. Rainfall is good. All right. So Joe LeBeo, so going forward, since we're running pretty much on track with MWRA, we shouldn't have any problems staying within our allotment. What do you think?
No, I don't think,
Yeah,
the projection is that we should be okay. I'll know more as we move into the warmer weather months.
yeah,
That's when we typically see the spike, as you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, as of this point, there really are no concerns that are jumping out at us right now.
yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. I'll make a motion to accept the April 2020 monthly report.
A motion by Commissioner George Allen. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Commissioner Robert Levita seconds the motion. Any further discussion? No further discussion. The commissioner moves for a vote. As proponent, Commissioner George Allen, A and A.
Aye.
Commissioner Robert Levita, aye and A.
Aye.
Commissioner Joseph Bolero votes aye. The motion is unanimous. The minutes for April 20, I'm sorry, the monthly report for April 2020 is carried. Moving on. Fifth item on the agenda, Nassau Avenue tank lease for communication equipment.
Right. So the Nassau Avenue water storage tank, as you know, the town has leased space on the tank and along the ground for 3 telecommunication vendors and their associated equipment. Of those 3, one of the leases is set to expire. So recently the town advertised to seek proposals for that one open spot. We're looking for a 10-year term with 2 5-year extensions. And the date that those proposals are due is June 5th. So as I do always, once we get those proposals, they'll be reviewed internally by a team within the town, and then I'll discuss with you next month what the findings were and who will be recommending.
Now, they're gonna be located on the new tank, right, Joe?
That's right. That's correct.
And we left brackets for them and everything else, so, and then the other concern was, and then bringing the coax cable in into the column before we start heading down, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Throughout the whole process, from the beginning of the design of the new tank, Aquastore, the tank developer, was in communication with these telecommunication vendors. So they kind of worked together. It made sense to address that at the time of design. And yeah, you're right. With the new tank, the cables will enter the tank in the column about 10 to 12 feet above grade, and then rise vertically inside the column, so you won't see them until they exit up top where the tank is. So it'll be more aesthetically pleasing than I guess what's currently there for the now old tank.
Which of the current vendors' contract is up this year?
This is AT&T.
AT&T is up this year. When are the other 2 up?
They're a few years out. We have T-Mobile. Their lease is up next. I want to say 2022 or so. And then Verizon, they have the most recent lease, and they still have a ways to go.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Any further questions?
No.
No further questions. We will move on to item number 6 on the agenda. Transfer of funds, finished water VFD at Sergeant Water Treatment Plant.
So this was an unexpected occurrence. Our VFD, which is our variable frequency drive, which is basically a controller that allows our pumps, our finished water pump primarily, to operate as efficiently as possible. This failed after 10 years, unexpectedly, like I mentioned. There was no budget allocated to replace this, and we're looking at about a $25,000 expense. So what we're doing and what I'm going to request is that you vote to approve a transfer of funds from 2 of our capital projects that have been completed and their outstanding balances in those accounts. So what I'd like to do is take the balances from those two accounts and allocate them to a new account. So if I can read that off to you, I'd like to take $8,005 from our leak detection account. These are both this fiscal year capital accounts. And the second amount would be $19,668. Again, that's a remaining balance from a recently completed Sargent water treatment fuel tank project. So that would give us a total of $27,693, and that would establish a new account called Variable Frequency Drive Sargent Water Treatment Plant. And if you vote to approve this, the next step is for me to provide this memo that I've drafted to the town accountant. So with that, I ask for your vote to approve.
Yep, makes sense. We're using unexpended balances on two existing accounts and transferring it. Makes good fiscal sense, and I would make a motion to approve the transfer from those two accounts, those unexpended balances, to the new VFD, finished water VFD at the Sargent treatment plant.
On motion made by Commissioner George Allen, do I have a second?
Second.
On a second made by Mr. Robert Levita. Any further discussion? No further discussion as proponent. Commissioner George Allen, do you vote aye or nay?
Aye.
Mr. Robert Levita, aye or nay?
Aye.
Mr. Joseph Blair votes aye. The motion is carried. Moving on, items number 7 on the agenda, Ballardville Water Storage Tank Rehabilitation Project.
This was one of the projects that was slated for this current capital year. If you recall, the Ballardville Water Storage Tank, it's a 3 million gallon pre-stressed concrete tank that was built in the late 1980s. This project includes new exterior coating for the tank, replacing a hatch on the roof of the tank, along with installing some new fall protection that meets current safety standards. This project was bid over the wintertime, and DN Tank was the low bidder that was received, and they were awarded the contract recently, and they started working on that tank this past Monday was the first day they were on site. So as far as a time frame, they're estimating 3 to 4 weeks or so. That'll entail the power washing of the tank, the painting of the tank, and then, like I mentioned, the additional safety improvements.
I'm sorry, Joe, did you say 3 to 4 weeks?
Estimating 3 to 4 weeks.
3
yes.
to 4, okay, thank you.
The final coating that they're gonna put on there, Joe, they're gonna change the, is it gonna be a gray, or there's not gonna be any change in the, because they put a final coating?
Right. So we had an option of a few different colors. They're all fairly similar to what's already there.
Yeah.
So we picked the color that's most
Well,
consistent
match.
with-
Yeah, okay.
And we're also going to be putting on an anti-graffiti coating to try and eliminate
Good.
graffiti up there.
Good. All right. Sounds good. Who are you dealing with, Joe Popo?
Joe Popo and Joe Freitas is the latest person I've been dealing with.
I don't know, Freitas, okay.
But yeah, Joe Popo was the main contact all along up until recently.
Yeah, okay.
Any further discussion on item number 7? Moving on to item number 8, 2019 Consumer Confidence Report.
This is the annual requirement that all towns are required to do. By July 1st, all residents in town need to receive what they call a consumer confidence report. Like we do every year, we work with the MWRA to compile this report. And what it is, it's just an overview of both the MWRA's water system, what they've accomplished in the past year, any newsworthy items, and also combined with anything related to Wilmington, whether it's our water system or anything that's newsworthy. It also has our water quality results, this various samples that we conducted throughout the year. And like I mentioned, that'll be sent out, and all residents should have that by July 1st. And it'll also be on our website.
Any questions? Discussion? Moving on, item number 9, Townwide fire hydrant inspection flushing program update. I love the flushing program.
Well, the flushing program, due to the COVID-19 situation, it requires personnel to work fairly close together. So for this season, we've postponed it. So we plan on starting it hopefully in the fall. As of now, that's the projection. But instead of that, what we've been doing is we have each one of our personnel around town inspecting every single town-owned fire hydrant, making sure that it operates properly. And if it doesn't, then it's documented, it's submitted, the information submitted to the fire department, and then of course we return to repair or replace it if needed, and then the fire department's informed when it's back in service.
Can you speak to any concerns the public might have as a consequence of the delay in the flushing program?
No, I don't think overall the public should see much effect. Our water is relatively clean overall, and through the various years of the flushing, we do okay. And seeing that it's already May and we're projected to do it in the fall, I wouldn't imagine they'll see much of an impact in that short duration of time.
Understood. Thank you. Any other discussion?
I have one item. With the COVID-19, Joe LeBeo, what sort of impact has it had on your operations? For example, staffing, financial, in other words, are we going to have to postpone some of our capital projects? I mean, could maybe you just give us a summary on what sort of impact the situation has had on the way you guys are operating?
Sure. There's multiple layers to that. So in general, we still are operating as normal to a degree. We still have guys available to respond to whether it be an emergency or if it's a water quality issue, if we have a leak, a low pressure, it depends what the issue is. I'd say few and far between have we not been able to respond to a customer's complaint or problem or question. We are answering voicemails all throughout the day, answering emails. Like I said, staff is ready to go. They might not be working together, stationed in the same truck, but they're certainly able to respond to everything that's arisen so far. As far as the financial aspect, certainly tightening down, I would say. We're really taking a look on capital and furnishings and equipment, along with the operating budget. We're always pretty diligent in how we spend the money, but we really are just taking a closer look, and because you just don't know what's in the future. I guess also town meeting is on the docket for late June, and if that doesn't happen, then we have to be prepared how it would move forward in that aspect, and that would include certainly not spending any money for capital or furnishings for equipment, really just probably delaying any large purchases, which for the water department, I can't imagine that being too big a concern because most of our projects are scheduled for the non-peak season anyways, which would be the cold weather months. So I would say we're business as usual to a degree.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Moving on to item number 10 on the agenda, other business. No other business.
No, the only thing I would let you know that speaking of the town meeting, and I should have recognized this earlier, the Nassau water storage tank lease, that is going to require a town meeting approval because of the length of the term of the contract. Typically anything, from what I understand, anything over 3 years requires town meeting approval. So you'll see that on the town meeting packet for when the town meeting occurs.
Wonderful. All right. Great. Moving on to item number 11, just public comment period. Cloudy Di, are there any public commenters online?
Not that I can see.
Nobody in the group, huh? Lined up to talk? No?
We can't
That
even,
being,
WCTV ratings are probably going through the roof tonight.
That being said, I cannot announce from, obviously from my chair, the public comment period. But given Governor Baker's order with respect to open meetings, my only recourse is to request whether or not there had been any contact by telephone at the number in the meeting ID I addressed at the beginning of the meeting with the Secretary, Diane. And she has responded, there is no contact. Therefore, I am moving on to item number 12, which is the next meeting. The suggested date of the next meeting is June 18th, 2020. Do any of the commissioners or any other person have an issue with June 18th, 2020?
June 18th.
Looks good to me.
Will it, is the anticipation that it would still be a Zoom meeting?
We're going to have to leave it up in the air. I can't, you know, it's difficult to anticipate. So as far as the nature of the meeting and how it is to be conducted, we will have to determine that at a later date. And I assume that Joe and Diane will make whatever announcements are necessary and appropriate.
So can we say it's a fluid situation for the Water and Sewer Commission meeting?
Yeah.
I tell you, I've been practicing that all
Very
day.
good, George.
You were saving up for that one, huh?
Come on. Work, guys.
As long as we don't go down to tubes.
Oh, God.
Now we're going to start puns. Okay.
Okay.
All right, that being said, the June 18th, 2020 is the next meeting. The final item on the agenda, item number 13, is Matt's motion.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second, adjourning our first Zoom meeting. Historical.
And on motion by Commissioner Bob Levita, seconded by Commissioner George Allen, it is unanimous. We are adjourning, and that closes the May 21st, 2020 meeting of the Water and Sewer Commission via Zoom. Thank you all for your attendance.
Come down, red Molly said, sorry.